Hey everyone! Tonight I'm very lucky to have in interview Lysanne Latulippe, the knitwear designer behind String Theory, and Lysanne Latulippe. Hey Lysanne!
Hey, Evelyn.
How are you?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Yes, I'm very good, thank you. I'm very glad to have you in interview tonight, and I think we have a lot of people who are very happy to see you too. We had so many good responses on your being here tonight on Instagram and Facebook, so I think really people are really glad to hear about you and your projects tonight.
That's amazing, huh?
So we can dive right in if you want. We can talk a little bit about your background, either as a knitwear designer, but in general, what's your resume? Tell us
My
everything.
resume. My resume. So first of all, I went to college in art, so that was my first degree. So I was very integral to painting and to drawing. After I went to university in history, and I didn't really like that university and everything, so I decided to travel, and I went to Europe. And that's in Europe when I was visiting the Victoria and Albert Museum that I saw the textile collection over there. And when I saw all those amazing textile, the colors, the patterns, I really got driven by textile. So when I came back to Montreal, I decided to sign up for textile design at the Centre des Textiles Contemporains. I did my 3 years over there, and I graduated back in 2000. After my graduation, I started my own. I had the first knitwear collection called Ma Jolie. So I did that for 10 years, and I was doing knitwear as Ma Jolie in Montreal, and I was knitting everything on a Brother knitting machine and on Passat knitting machine. After that, I joined with Megan Price, and we created String Theory. And so I kind of went back to my roots and just trying to focus on textile design. And that's why we decided to make only scarves, saying that, well, let's go back to basic, just a rectangle, but just do everything as textile designer. And that's why we decided to make scarves.
It's a good canvas. Also, it's a
very great
simple rectangle, but then since you have an arts degree, and I think Megan also is in
she did fiber arts in Concordia, so she did a master there, and now she's in Toronto, and she teaches at OCAD and at Sheridan as well.
Yeah, because your designs on these scarves are really architectural and really well thought, and it's very you feel the designer behind it.
Yeah. So Ms. Megan was doing all the weaving, and I was doing the knitting design. So we have our own product kind of. And but as a textile knitwear designer and producer, I've been working a lot with other designers in Montreal, but also in Ontario and in New York City. So I also make production for other designers.
Yeah. And I'm curious, when you were at the CTCM, the School of Textile Construction, what made you click on knitwear on knitting instead of weaving?
Yeah.
What was
the motor?
Yeah.
Let's motorize, because it's kind of funny because on my first year at CTCM, I didn't really enjoy knitting. It was so stressful on the machine and everything, and weaving was much more zen and very slow, and I really enjoyed it. So I preferred weaving, actually. But after I finished and I started production, I had production in both techniques. And doing production as a weaver was for me just too much. And I was, oh man, I cannot do that. I don't think I could weave like hours per day. So that's why I picked up knitting, because I really enjoy having my mother knit for me.
Yeah, and you work more in knitting, you work more by the piece.
Yeah.
And in weaving, you have to think ahead, and it's really long and everything. But knitting, maybe you have more concrete result in your day's work.
You're absolutely right. I think it's also that flexibility and that speed actually. So you don't have to do the full preparation of your warp before you kind of get to work. So when you knit, you just have an idea. You want to try out something. You just put the yarns on top of the machine and you just give it a go. So
yeah, you can try it right away.
Yeah, right away. It's much faster. Yeah.
And for those who don't know, maybe we can just say a few words about the very interesting machine that you have. You're very professionally equipped.
Yeah, good way to say it. Yeah. I always like we say, like in Canada, we don't have much access to these kind of knitting machine, the industrial ones. So I have Shimasiki's knitting machine, and I did that very bold move 6 years ago. Well, a little bit more, 7 years ago. But I applied with a business plan, and I went to the bank and said, well, you know what? That's what I want to do, and I just got those knitting machine, and I went to Japan to actually have a proper training on programming those knitting machine because I didn't learn that at school.
Yeah, they're computers. You have to learn to speak with them.
Very special computer that is just, well, the program is just for this kind of knitting machine. So I couldn't do programming for another company like Stoll, let's say, the German company. So I'm a Shimasiki programmer, and that's how I produce, and that's what I do now.
Yeah, that's nice. It's the difference in your products also are the I don't know the word in English, but the finesse, like it's very small stitches and very fine yarn and very refined. So it's really a kind of knitwear that you can find so much in the knitwear design area. And speaking of that, do you want to show us a little bit of your creations? Maybe you have
Well, speaking of that very fine yarn, so I have these masks. So the masks that I produced in April, that I started developing and producing. So these are some knitted masks.
They look very comfy and stretchy.
Yeah, they are. So they are super stretchy, and they're made out of viscose and polyester. So they're like super stretchy and super flexible, very comfortable. So that's a very fine gauge. So that's like my machine is a 12 gauge. So that means that it should be a 12 wells per inch. But that yarn is so fine that it actually goes as fine as I would say 20 wells per inch. So it becomes very fine and very thin. But the other machine is has chunkier needles, and I knit with more yarn. So it's a 5 ends of yarn knitting a beanie.
They're so cute.
Yeah. So this
and
one
no sewing.
No sewing, no seams. So this is knitted actually on the machine. So it's knitted, that way. It goes down that way. And at the finishing, at the end of it, you just have a few rows to unravel and to actually secure the stitches with a needle.
Yeah. Do you also hand knit sometimes, like for fun?
Je suis un imposteur. Oh. I don't really knit by hand. I don't really know how to knit by hand, and actually on a trip to Japan, I knew I had like 20 hours to do on a plane, so I actually brought some knitting needles, and I just knitted just because I knew the technique and I knew the structure. I'm able to actually knit by hand, but I have no technique as a.
You don't have any like muscle memory or.
Yeah, okay, I want this stitch to go this way, and I just manipulate, I guess, my needles like I would on my knitting machine.
Yeah. So you understand the knitting from the other point of view, because I remember when I was in the textile school also, I knew a little bit how to knit. I was just starting, and then I saw the carrier like this, and I was like, what's going on under here? There's always like nuts and break yarns and everything. I was going crazy. And it was really hard for me to understand what was going on behind the carrier, but it's the other way around.
It's the other way around. Yeah, it's a thinking of the mechanic of the machine and of the movement of your needles. So once you kind of know when you're knitting by hand, it's either you're picking up the stitch, you're not picking it up, or you're just picking that yarn but not going through your stitch. So the machine does the same thing, and the carriage, what does the carriage on your knitting machine, it actually moves that needles in that point where it has these three movements, and that's all.
It's really simple.
As simple as that.
Yeah. And you made a switch this fall. So you showed us the mask, you showed us the hat. You also have scarves and your string theory scarves, and you made a like you put everything together and you started a new website and everything.
Yeah, because I had like two websites. So I had my string theory website, but also had Le Fil à Lily website, on which I was kind of reselling my overstock of yarn. So I had to go with two different Instagram accounts and Facebook accounts, and I was just being too overwhelmed by everything. So I decided to actually put everything together, and so now I just launched my new website, and it's called lysanne-latulippe.com, and under that website now I can actually do whatever I want to do. Actually, is I just want to have fun with textile, and I just want to do more creation and do more exploration with textiles. So I think that will allow me that. But also have my string theory collection, which is still available on the website. And I also have my yarns now, that if people want to knit or weave, they can get the yarns on my website and actually make their own project.
Yeah, that's very nice. I really recommend you go have a look at Lysanne's website. I think it's maybe a good opportunity for Christmas gifts.
Yeah, that's really very different because it's from a cone, right? So I actually buy those huge cones directly from the mill, and then I just make smaller cones. So my minimum is 250 grams. And yeah, so that's how I sell the yarns. It's on a cone and not in.
But you can go a long way with 250 grams, because it's so fine that you have, I don't know, like 3,000 yards, or I don't know.
I think it's 3,184 yards, and I tried on my website to actually put all these facts, like how many meters you would have on a cone and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very clear when you need to
make your project.
Make up your project. Yeah. So I really recommend you go check up Lysanne's website, and I really want to thank you, Lysanne, for being here tonight. I hope you have a busy Christmas time, but not too stressful. Just okay. Yeah.
Just okay. Yeah.
Just the right amount. So thank you very much, and it was a pleasure to talk with you tonight.
Pleasure to talk to you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.